Today, we're talking about a major breakthrough in medicine. It's kind of like explorers creating the very first super detailed map of a huge uncharted continent. But this continent is inside all of us. We're talking about the genetic map of the human heart. Everything really starts with this one number, 1%. That's how many babies are born with congenital heart disease. It makes it one of the most common and, frankly, one of the most serious birth defects that families have to face anywhere in the world. So, for years, this has been the big question haunting researchers. What if we could go beyond just dealing with the symptoms and actually understand the root cause, the instructions written right into our DNA?
To even begin to answer that, we have to wrap our heads around just how big this challenge is, which brings us right into our first section, the heart's hidden problem.
So what is congenital heart disease, or CHD, really? Well, in simple terms, it just means the heart doesn't form the right way while a baby is developing. And this can mean a whole range of things, from tiny holes between the chambers to really severe problems with the heart structure. Now, you might think the issue was a lack of research, but it was actually the exact opposite. And that leads us to Section 2, a puzzle of scattered clues. For the last 30 years or so, scientists have been putting out thousands upon thousands of studies, all pointing to possible genetic links for CHD. I mean, this created a mountain of information, which sounds great, right? But it also created a massive problem. And here's the kicker. All that knowledge, it was a total mess. As the researchers behind the study put it, the findings were so scattered everywhere that it was almost impossible for doctors and scientists to actually find them and use them. It's like having the biggest library in the world, but with no system, no card catalog, just millions of books piled on the floor.
So, what do you do with a problem like that? You build the catalog yourself. So welcome to Section 3, Building the Genetic Map.
So these researchers built an incredible knowledge base they called CHDbase. Think of it as that missing catalog. As you can see in this diagram, it's a really powerful setup. Over on the left, it sucks in all that scattered data from thousands of different papers. In the middle, it processes and organizes everything into one clean database. And the result, over on the right, is this amazing tool that lets scientists search, browse, and analyze everything in one single place. It's the one-stop shop for CHD genetics that never existed before. And the work that went into this was just massive. A whole team of researchers had to manually go through and pull data from over 1,100 separate scientific studies. And by doing all that painstaking work, they were able to pull out and identify over 1,100 different genes that are thought to be connected to CHD. And they linked those genes to almost 3,600 specific little variations in our DNA. I mean, for the very first time, all those scattered pieces of the puzzle were finally being put together to form one single coherent picture. Okay, let's move on to Section 4, because once you actually have a map, you can start to see patterns you never ever could have seen before. It's time to uncover the core network. And wow, this right here shows the first huge discovery. See, this isn't just some boring list of genes, it's a network map. The best way to think about it is like a social network, but for your genes. It shows who's talking to who's working together. The bigger dots are the genes with the most evidence, the big influencers, and the lines are the connections between them. It's literally a picture of the genetic community that builds a healthy heart. So by looking at all these connections, the researchers could finally zero in on the most important players in the network. They were able to boil down that giant list of over 1,000 genes to a core group, a subnetwork of just 163. These are the ones that matter most, the central hubs that really influence whether a heart develops correctly. And here are some of the biggest stars of that network. This table shows the 5 most connected hub genes. That degree number, that tells you how many other genes it's connected to. Just look at GATA4 and NKX2-5. They're not just highly connected, that evidence column shows they're backed up by tons and tons of different studies. These aren't just random suspects, these are the master regulators.
So what does all this high-tech analysis actually mean for patients? Well, this is where the science really changes things. Let's talk about Section 5, a new future for hearts.
This is so important. What we're seeing is a complete shift in how we think about these diseases. For forever, doctors have classified different types of CHD based on what the heart defect physically looks like. But this new genetic map gives us a whole new way to do it. We can now classify defects based on the shared genes that cause them in the first place. We're moving from asking what is it to asking why is it?
And this heat map is the incredible result. Think of it like a family tree for heart defects. The darker the red square, the more genes two different defects share. You can see these bright red blocks where different conditions are clustering together. Like this cluster here, it groups together several different defects that were thought to be separate, revealing they all share a common genetic starting point, something we never would have seen by just looking at symptoms. We're literally seeing hidden family relationships between diseases for the first time.
So why is this such a big deal? Well, first, this genetic map is going to lead to better, way more accurate diagnoses. It also carves out a clear path for developing new, targeted treatments. And on a bigger scale, it gives us this incredibly deep understanding of how a human being even develops. And maybe most importantly, this whole approach of building a map to understand a disease can now be used as a model to untangle the genetics of all sorts of other complex conditions.
And that really brings us to the final thought. The heart was the first territory to get a genetic map like this. Now that we know how to draw the map, you have to wonder, what other complex diseases, from Alzheimer's to autism, are just waiting for us to unravel them, one gene at a time?